Scientists believe they may have caught a glimpse of a parallel universe bumping up against ours. They've seen hints and signals from the most distant points of the universe that suggest the fabric of our universe has been disrupted by another incredibly different universe. Their analysis may be the proof for the multiverse theory.
Hi, this is Charles.
You are full of bullshit, my friend. I will sue you for everything you have. I will sue your ass.
Welcome to 86 Charles, with your hosts John Darby and Travis Spencer.
And with that, welcome to 86 Charles. Travis Spencer, how you been?
John Darby, I'm great. I can't say... I don't think you can say the same yourself. You sound a little under the weather. What's
I'm a
going
little
on?
under the weather, but I think it's passing. I think it was really like a 24-hour kind of a thing.
No, I think it's more of like a 72-hour thing. You're going to be under for a little while. I can tell.
Oh, the good news, I don't have any of the body aches and no fever.
Oh, no body aches? Did you take your own temperature? Did you just stick that thing up your rectum there, buddy?
Who does that anymore?
That's the only way you can get a true. That's the only way you can get a true temperature. You know?
No, I did not do that. But I'll be on the mend.
Well,
I'm
you
all right.
should. All right. Well, I hope everything's going to be okay. I'm worried.
I wonder if me in the parallel universe is 100%.
Well, there is a John Derby in a parallel universe that's doing just fine right now.
And then probably one on death's door.
Yeah, absolutely. And one that just died, literally. Just died. You have a little bit of everything. It's
He
amazing.
said it was just a cold.
So what exactly do you struggle with, this parallel universe thing? Didn't you watch Sliders as a kid?
I was aware of Sliders. It's just,
See, if you would have watched that.
it's hard for me to understand that I can wrap my head around that there's other universes and galaxies and life and all of those things, but to try to understand that there's an alternate version of everything that's going on.
Well, first of all, it's just a theory.
Right, of course.
So we don't really know.
But I don't even know how
And
scientifically
along
they
with that
came up with
theory-
that. That sounds like it's out of a movie only.
Well, it's theoretical physics, and it's essentially math equations of ways that they think the universe might work. Like string theory, for example, I don't understand it. Nobody really understands string theory, apparently. But like for the math to work in string theory, which essentially, so strings would be one-dimensional strings that are so tiny that they're the building blocks of vibrations that make up atoms. So think about how tiny atoms are. So even way tinier than that are tiny little vibrating strings that make up those atoms, okay?
Right.
So for the math to work, for this to be the case of those are the ultimate building blocks of our universe, there has to be 10 parallel dimensions. So strings built on strings and 10 different dimensions to make up this world that we have now. Bizarre, and I obviously butchered it up. I have no idea.
Right.
what
Well,
I'm talking
I was going to say, let me read something from this article real quick. It kind of feeds into what you're saying. So Dr. Chari explains, the fine-tuning of parameters in the early universe required to reproduce our present-day universe suggest that our universe may simply be a region within an eternally inflating superregion. Many other regions beyond our observable universe would exist, with each such region governed by a different set of physical parameters than the ones we have measured for our universe.
Right. Because all of this like theoretical stuff at this level is either math or we're looking through telescopes at energy in the universe and trying to put this all together with light refraction,
Right.
distances, and looking, it's like that's how we're putting it all together, because we're just these tiny little, we have our eyes on Earth, obviously, and then the satellites that are out there. So from that data is the only data we have.
All we can see are the numbers and the lights, and we're trying to piece theories together based on that.
Which is pretty incredible.
is.
And I love running with these theories, though, like the multiverse theory and the theory that in each black hole is a whole nother universe beyond, or like at least as big or larger than our own universe. So how many black holes are there? Then how many, like, there's an infinite amount of black holes we don't even know. And then there's an infinite amount of universes. So, but that's the whole thing. The number infinity is so insane that it's completely plausible, if there really are an infinite amount of universes, that every decision that you make, say you go left or right, you go left, but there's a whole universe of what would happen if you went right. Every decision you ever make, you're opening a new universe while closing off another one that might exist on its own somewhere else.
And that's the thing right there that's really hard to process. It's interesting. It's incredibly interesting, but that's hard to process.
Practically, what can you do with it?
Right.
What can you do with that? You're like, well, I hope I made the right decision.
Because I'm only ever going to know...
but it doesn't matter.
I'm only going to know the universe in which I win left.
Unless you get really quiet and meditate and breathe it in, and then you can see all the multiverses working at once. You can see the strings dance if you can get it small enough. If you can get your concentration fine enough to the very string at the center of your existence that is vibrating, then you will know, my friend. Then you will know.
Man, you're like a shaman.
What do you think I've been doing out here in the desert, bro? Other than drinking away my kidney and my liver and my life.
I've been shamaning.
Been shamaning and drinking. Yeah, that's all you can do. It's too windy for anything else.
No. You do them well, sir.
It's the strings, man. Look into the strings.
And the Mormons can't explain the stars reflected in their corneas. It makes their hearts beat hard against their corsets, which bops their lockets up against their foreheads. And it wasn't the this little girl's mind up in orbit. She had a forfeit little Dolly Robin's face. That's my little fact. We draw like then yeah, I'm a big draw boy tripping like attention. You like magic. It's cataclysm. Like sex cabin. And the rings is from the spot. It's happening. Spectacularly propelling you backwards over the edge of the track.
Once upon a midnight dreary, as I googled weak and weary, a strange website I came upon, known only as 86charles.com. I heard the voices of two men, one of them John, the other was Travis. He only said, Amazon! To support these two fools known as Travis and John, one must go to 86charles.com. Once there, you simply click on the link, shop as you would and do nothing more. 86charles.com gets a cut of the score.
Nickel. What? 5 topics currently trending. Travis, no school today, bro.
Man, strange story, man. I don't know what to think.
Well, I'll tell you what to think. The United States' 2 biggest school districts get the same threat. One in Los Angeles decides to call off school, with the superintendent saying students won't go back until he's absolutely sure everything is safe. The other in New York decides just the opposite, dismissing the threat as an apparent hoax. Which one do you think was right?
I don't know. It's tough. Obviously, it's tough. Yeah, we're getting into some weird, very strange times, man. We're getting terrorist threats on schools, and obviously we've seen it before. It's happened. It was Sandy Hook, right? That was the terrible, awful, but that was a domestic terrorist, so we haven't had a foreign terrorist attack a school yet. I don't know. Nobody's wrong. Nobody's right. Did the right thing.
This is going to come up a lot more, though, because it's, and even in the article it talks about how this is a fairly frequent occurrence about schools receiving threats, and they're typically dismissed.
Yeah, man, we're getting in some squirrely times, bro. Squirrely times.
Yeah, this is definitely not the last story of this kind anytime soon. That's for sure.
Now let's move on to something more positive.
Or not.
Nope. The Chinese are buying up bottles of fresh air from Canada. You know that Chinese air pollution is pretty terrible,
yes.
Right, John Derby? So there's a Canadian startup company bottling fresh air from the Rocky Mountains, and they've seen sales to China soar because of rising pollution levels. This is nuts, man. Like, we've gotten to the point where we're buying air. Like, the pollution in China is so bad that people have to buy air to live. It's crazy.
Well, they don't. It's
or to feel healthy, maybe.
I was going to say they're not buying it to live, but the fact that even if they're buying it as a novelty, that's kind of disturbing. To think that, canned or, bottled fresh air is now like a luxury item.
Right. Well, of course, that's where it's going to start.
Right. No, of
Only
course,
the
it starts there, and then
wealthy people are
it
gonna
starts
have
to
it.
turn into a necessity, and then it becomes that's how we breathe now, is you have to buy fresh air.
It's just bizarre. I can't believe that we're to this time. I mean, I guess I can believe it. It's 2015,
no, I
right?
believe it. It's just
We're buying...
you start to see the beginning of something, and it becomes very concerning. Moving on. A Texas school banned a 7th grader from wearing his Star Wars T-shirt to class. A spokesperson for the school district said the shirt was banned because it violates the school's dress code, which prohibits symbols oriented toward violence. And what was on the T-shirt was a stormtrooper aiming we'll call it a gun, but it's, a space laser rifle type thing. But apparently he had worn the shirt to school before and had no problem. But then this time, because of more recent shooting attacks, they're cracking down more on their dress code. Is it too PC?
I think you're talking about an E11 blaster rifle, first of all. And yeah, it's ridiculously PC. I mean, I guess if your policy is no guns on shirts, that makes sense.
But is that too far? I mean, it's clearly it's a movie, it's space.
Right.
And there's not anyone he's shooting
to have
at.
a rule that says...
It's just him holding up a gun.
Right. Like, you should probably not allow the kid to wear a shirt that has, like, an AK-47 on it, and it says below it AK-47 and then, like, the specs or something like a real gun nut would wear. But a fictional gun, although with the same shirt that said E11 blaster and had all the specs below it, like, would that not be cool?
I think I'm okay with the fact that I think kids at that age understand that it's a movie, right? Am I being naive?
No, it's the same thing. Like, okay, so this is, like, our whole culture is built on violence. Like, look at every movie you've ever seen. There's so much violence. And then these kids, that's all they see is this violence. Why don't we start at the top rather than busting these kids for reenacting what they see? We have to change the culture, right?
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. I don't think this kid wearing that shirt is going to make a difference whether or not he goes into a movie theater and shoots people. I don't think that that's going to have any difference. I think if that kid was raised properly and understands reality and fiction and, what real violence is versus pretend violence, then I think it's fine. I don't think we have to worry about what kind of shirt a kid is wearing.
Right, like... There's no discretion. Nobody has the discretion. No principal, no teacher, has the discretion to realize that is a fictional character with a fictional gun. Moving on! We have giant, humongous, amazing news. Big shout out to Rick for sending this one to me because it was so underground I didn't see it on LATimes.com. Congress quietly ends federal government's ban on medical marijuana. It's a big day, John Derby. The feds are no longer going to go after medical marijuana patients. That's beautiful.
It's a good step.
It's beautiful. We're getting there. Slowly but surely. Obama might do good after all. Tucked deep inside the 1,603-page federal spending measure is a provision that effectively ends the federal government's prohibition on medical marijuana and signals a major shift in drug policy. The bill's passage over the weekend marks the first time Congress has approved nationally significant legislation backed by legalization advocates. It brings almost to a close 2 decades of tension between the states and Washington over medical use of marijuana. Under the provision, states where medical pot is legal would no longer need to worry about federal drug agents raiding retail operations. Agents would be prohibited from doing so, although it sounds like they still might go after growers. The Obama administration has largely followed that rule since last year as a matter of policy, but the measure approved as part of the spending bill, which President Obama plans to sign this week, will codify it as a matter of law. Which, I think the LA Times might lean a little bit to the left in supporting Obama, because that's kind of bullshit, because there's been a lot of cases of dispensaries getting taken over by the feds, and local police, maybe not just the feds, but there's definitely been a lot of shakedowns, and it's been going on for a lot of years by people who have their ducks in a row.
Yeah.
You know? But this is awesome. This is great. This is the first step.
It's a good
Now,
step
if we
for
can,
sure.
If we can step it down from a Schedule 1 narcotic, that'll be the next thing.
Well, I think it's just
Because recreationally, even if you're busted, you shouldn't be in the same class as heroin,
No.
and in a higher class than cocaine. It's absurd. You know, Schedule 1s should be the most toxic. It should be crystal meth and crack. You know, but instead it's marijuana and mushrooms and cocaine's Schedule 2. How does that make any sense?
Yeah, well, I think that you're seeing the nation become more comfortable with marijuana. And so now that there's a few states that actually have it full legal, I think the rest of the states are more willing to lighten up on the medical end.
It's so much money. It's so much money, you idiots. Like, you stupid idiots who've been fighting this for so long, realize how much money is in it. Tax it. Give money back to the schools. Like, let's do it right. Like, it's ridiculous that it's gone on this long. All right, let's move on. Try not to get too high before you do this next story.
Last story. Endangered fish rediscovered in the Santa Cruz River. After a 10-year absence, an endangered fish species has once again been found in the Santa Cruz River in southern Arizona. Last month, the Gila topminnow, a native Arizona species listed under the Endangered Species Act in 1967, was found in the Santa Cruz River near the U.S.-Mexico border. Scientists and local residents have eagerly awaited the fish's return since they were last seen in 2005. They have seen such improvement in water quality from 2009 that they have been expecting the endangered topminnow, which has been living in the Sonoyta Creek upstream of the Santa Cruz River, to return to the Santa Cruz. And now they're just concerned with being able to keep it there and allow it to thrive in its former habitat. So they got one
Good
back.
for this minnow.
They healed a small part of the earth. I think that's great.
Yeah, good for the minnow. I mean, I guess he wasn't really strong enough to survive on his own. He needed, the hand of the government to help him out, so he's not really
No, it was the hand of the government that killed him. But then they decided to do it the right way, and they brought him back. That's pretty good.
Yeah, but then, that's too much involvement. It's too much man involvement. I don't like it.
Right,
but like it. Is there even... There's no water in the Santa Cruz anyway. Like that, where's fish?
But let's give credit for them
let's
give credit for them wanting to restore the part of the ecosystem that they destroyed. That's a good thing.
If we want to get rid of some minnow species,
but
fine.
we didn't want to.
Let's make
we
some
did
more.
It on accident.
Well, now that we have CRISPR, that program where we can just program our own fish, I'll make a better top minnow. It'll be way more delicious than this stupid fish.
Boo! I'm happy about it.
You're such a fancy little naturalist. You don't need, this is what happens when you live in the city and you don't actually see a fish. Top minnow, get out of here.
Inside of a parallel universe, it's getting harder and harder to tell.
Jesse's favorite part of the show.
From last week.
Hello, folks.
I hate being predictable. I want to zig when other people think I'm going to zig the other way. Keep them on their toes. So when Travis suggested do-it-yourself biologists, startups, and artists would create fanciful orgasms, you might have thought, that's a lock. He'll probably spend a minute and a half wondering what specifically makes an orgasm fanciful. Why are those 3 specific demographics going to be responsible for creating such unique orgasms? Maybe I'd examine the fact that the word create implies a more permanent existence. Where are they locking these fanciful orgasms up? Or, perhaps when you first tuned into this week's episode and heard the opening from last week's episode, ironically about having options, perhaps you thought I'd wax about how great it was to hear those words a second time. Or maybe I would have filled in the blanks again on what I imagine the opening was meant to be. Or how great it was that Travis later brings up having options and Derby corrects him that was last week's episode. Either of those things would have been worthy candidates. But in the spirit of unpredictability, my favorite part was the other stuff. This is Jesse, and the podcast was my favorite part of last week's podcast.
Jesse's favorite part of the
86 Charles is brought to you by Amazon. Do these poor chaps a solid, and go to 86charles.com before you shop on Amazon this holiday season. Click on the Amazon link and you can really help us all out. I'm really hoping for an update this year, so I can better pronounce the word Derby. Thank you and happy Festivus.
A Festivus for the residents!
It's time for the failed athlete perspective. Travis?
Oh, man, what a weekend of sport.
I think that intro was longer than the MMA fight.
Oh, man, 13 seconds of beatdown from the Irish one, Conor McGregor. Is that good Irish accent? The Irish were killing it this week, man. There was one flight from New York that had to get turned around because they were getting rowdy on the plane. There was a fight that broke out. And then in Vegas, on the Strip, it was getting nuts. I can only imagine what happened after he beat down Jose Aldo like that.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Did you see the fight, man?
I did not. I only saw this. Well, there wasn't much of a fight, but all I saw was the still shot of Aldo catching that one in the face.
And then he took 2 giant blows to the head after he was.
He didn't even feel those.
He got up and he was so confused. He didn't know what happened. He was like, "Come on, let's fight. Let's go.
Let's start this fight."
What's going on? No, bro, you're done.
I just caught a nap. I'm ready.
Done. Honestly, I watched one of the undercards on Fox Sports 1, and then I watched all of the main event fights. And man, there was some serious beatdowns this weekend. Like to the point where I had a pretty nasty head injury when I was a kid. So at one point I was just like, I felt like cloudy and disgusted to see these guys there were 2 guys between Aldo and I forget the name of the other guy who he was out on his feet. You know what I'm saying? Like he's walking, but he's not there. That's scary, man. That's scary. Like the NFL has fought so hard to not allow that, and obviously it's more of a wholesome game.
Right.
But you see it in fighting. You see it in boxing too. And like I've never been too much of a fan of combat sports. I do enjoy UFC. I think it's way more exciting than boxing for me. I don't know enough about the technique and the technical aspects of boxing to really enjoy it. But oh man, it was pretty gross to see these guys just out cold on their feet, and that the ref was like allowing him to continue. It's scary to see. I hate seeing it.
I would say I think the refs do a pretty good job in UFC though. For the fights that I've watched, I think they do a pretty good job of knowing when to jump in there and get a guy off of somebody. Because you really don't want to. Really don't want to end it too soon, because that is really unfair. And guys have recovered from some pretty big shots. Because sometimes it's to use a football term, like you get your bell rung, but that doesn't mean you're done.
Right, but we've seen in the NFL like how little it takes to be a concussion.
Right, but MMA is a different thing.
These guys are fighting with concussions.
That's what you've signed up for. No, I don't think anyone's making any bones about that.
Right. Let's move on to the NFL.
Your Carolina Panthers.
So you want to start with the 38-0 beatdown of the
that's
Falcons?
why we can start there, because it's a quick story. Panthers are still undefeated.
Right, look good. Greg Olsen went down for a second, but I think he's going to be okay. Jonathan Stewart should be back, right? Nothing serious.
No, he's day-to-day, so I guess they won't really know.
Are you enjoying it yet?
No.
You got to love Cam.
You got
to love all those balls he's giving to little kids.
I'm not taking anything away.
How many little kids around the country have gotten footballs from Cam Newton?
Yeah.
Give him that. Give him that at least. He's dancing. He's having a good time. I enjoy it.
I get why people like it. I'm just never gonna root for Cam Newton. I'm just not that guy.
With that being said, I can't wait to crush him at home.
Oh God, that's gonna be so
Kangol.
Sweet.
When the Kangol rolls into town, did you see it this Thursday? Last Thursday, you saw it, right? The Kangol was on the field.
I did see it. It was awesome.
My man Bruce Arians got to wear his hat. He sold it to charity, great cause, and the Cardinals won 23-0. The Kangol's undefeated, bro.
And shall remain so.
How about them Patriots pulling out a big win against the Texans?
I wasn't surprised by that.
The Texans should not be allowed to play on primetime. They're not primetime material. I'm sorry. They suck. They're terrible. Nobody wants to watch them.
J.J. Watt's always the story, though. That's what people want to see.
Oh, you know what Belichick does? Belichick says, okay, your star players aren't going to beat us. J.J. Watt didn't do anything. DeAndre Hopkins didn't do anything. Thanks a lot, DeAndre. Needed a big game out of you to save my fantasy season. Didn't happen. He got crushed. All right, so the Patriots look good. Oh, and they vaulted back into first place because guess who lost? Both the Denver Broncos and the Cincinnati Bengals. Done. Well,
Dalton
done.
out,
They
Peyton
lost.
back
Terrible
in.
games. That was the worst thing. Andy Dalton, man. I had him starting in my fantasy playoffs. Like, that's the worst thing when you wake up in a fantasy playoff and right there, 10:05 a.m., quarterback's out. You know you're screwed. You're screwed.
I wasn't.
Doesn't matter.
I
You're
had him
done.
going. I still won by like 40 points.
Who else did you have?
I had who else did I have? Brandon Marshall, T.Y. Hilton, Sammy Watkins, Gary Barnage, bunch of like everybody I had win double digits. It didn't even matter. I won by like 40 points.
Did Dalton get you negative points?
No, he got me like 0.1 or like 0.2, something like that. Something stupid. Not even a full point. Not even half a point.
It's brutal. Brutal. But
we got to talk about something important. The unofficial 86 Charles Fantasy League.
oh man, it's coming down to it. We got 4 teams left in this order. Me, the commissioner. Third is
Me.
You, John Derby, and fourth, one Jesse McIntosh. Great work, Jesse. Glad you could make fourth place.
86 Charles is representing in a major way.
I know. I'm upset that I have to play Jesse in the first round. I wish I could crush the
I hope I take. I hope I take him out, and it's an all 86 Charles final.
It better be. So this is really on you this week, John Derby, because either way we win. Obviously, I'm going to crush.
Either
Jesse,
way, we're going to
either
have
way
someone
we
in the finals, but I hope it's an all 86 final.
Ta-da! Let's move on to basketball real quick. You know what happened?
Finally.
It was coming
Finally.
eventually. It's bittersweet.
No, it's not.
I'm
It's good.
glad that the Warriors streak ended because it was getting too much. It was getting too
Enough
much
of the
hype.
circus
They need to go
shots.
back to just that's not going to stop. Get ready for that. That's coming all year. We need to get back to basketball though. It's too much hype, too much worrying about streaks and records. We're forgetting about the basketball. And also, it was going to hurt him long term if the streak went on longer because maybe Clay's playing an ankle that he shouldn't play on. And any kind of injury comes up, and it's going to be like that. So now, without the streak, it's like, okay, let's get better. Let's focus on the playoffs. Let's be like that's what LeBron does.
But like you said, it's good and bad. It takes off some of the pressure and allows them to refocus. But then it's bad because it's like, man, maybe they were clicking on a high level trying to win every game. So it's
Spurs looking
Spurs
good.
look good. Suns look terrible.
Spurs are about 3.5 games behind the Warriors, just secretly killing it, while the Warriors getting all the attention. Cleveland look good tonight. That's what it's going to come down to. Those three, right? Warriors, Spurs versus the Cavs.
I still wouldn't count out OKC, but yes, Warriors, Spurs, and Cavs are the top
really good
three in
this
the
week.
league. I think that's safe.
Kevin Durant, player of the week. Oh, and there's an interesting matchup we have in fantasy basketball this week.
Yeah.
I think I'm playing.
Yeah.
The one and only John Derby. Oh, and I'm up 5-4. It's
I
early.
gotta win this week though, because I need to gain some games. I can't let you just win the entire regular season.
Well, that's going to be impossible for you, as I have Kevin Durant, Paul George, Karl Anthony Towns, and John Lure, the fearsome foursome, as I call them.
The 4 horsemen of the crap-pocalypse.
John Lure. Still the pickup of the month, I believe. Come on. Give John Lure some
know
love.
he's been
Tell me
fine.
you've
He's
seen
been
him play.
good, but it's on a good team, that guy wouldn't even be sniffing the court, I don't think.
Well,
Long Babby is a bloody wanker.
I've got good news because the Suns are going to be good soon. Tyson Chandler's back. He's working himself into shape. It's a hamstring injury. It can be tough for a big guy. But the word on the street is they're essentially waiting for today to pass because the guys who signed at the beginning of the year on other teams are now tradable after December 15th. So that opens up the availability of teams and players that the Suns can trade for that wasn't there yesterday.
Well, can't get Keith out of there soon enough.
So they're saying Terrence Jones and Corey Brewer possibly.
That'd be great.
That would be great.
I'd take one of them.
It's I still like Ryan Anderson. Honestly, I would take John Lure's brother.
Sean Lure, who's an accountant.
I don't know if John Lure has a brother, but I would take anything. I would take my least favorite player in the league, Doc Rivers' son.
Austin Rivers and a bag of...
I would take Austin Rivers.
Austin Rivers and a bag of Takis.
I'll take anybody in the league for Markieff Morris at this point, except his brother. I'll take Zoran Dragic. Let's trade him to a Slovenian team. That would be the ultimate if the Suns traded him to a Slovenian team and just got a bag of balls. I do have a fun and exciting stat for you.
Oh, please.
You're aware that Devin Booker, my pick for Rookie of the Year, is, as of right now, the greatest three-point shooter of all time.
So it's not Steph Curry.
Of players who have shot more than 10, or at least 10 three-pointers, he has the highest percentage. He is 8 for 10 currently, sir.
That's incredible.
Yeah. No, he's killing it, though. All right, you want to talk about your Utah Jazz? Oh,
yeah, nobody cares. I don't care.
All right, let's call that an amazing sports segment. I could talk about the Suns for another hour if you want.
You really think I'm not stupid?
All right, hear me out on this. You're immortal, right? Which means your life is infinite. Okay, well, then that means there's a 100% chance that you'll eventually do everything, including turning around to look behind you.
I cannot argue that.
I cannot held be accountable for my words.
It's time for the Facebook World News Update. This Real to Someone news update is brought to you by a parallel universe. One of you is thriving. A man in Arizona said he's walking through Walmart, it's 63 degrees outside, and people are dressed up like it's -5 years, and people are retarded sometimes. A woman in Boston said she'd been eating this steak for about an hour. She gonna F up that couch next. A man in Los Angeles said if we want Trump's poll numbers down, we just need someone to ask him his opinion on Beyonce.
I'd like to wish you all a happy holiday. Whether it is Hanukkah, Christmas, Festivus, or even Saturnalia, enjoy the great harvest and season of giving. We here at 86 Charles wish the best to you and yours. Get fat, drunk, and be merry. Go ahead and blow your load, go for it. Get it all out of your system, now fuck you. It is 2016. Shit is about to get real, the time has come to stop. Stop kidding yourself. Stop being lazy. Stop pretending. The time has come. We are all one, our psychic powers will overcome and collectively we can cure the human amnesia that has caused us so much trauma and pain over the years. Accept no more fakes, accept no more liars, accept no more bullshit. You are the gatekeeper, we are all responsible now, the future is here, the first thing you will feel will be chaos. Breathe. Count to 10. Breathe again. Now you know that you are the gatekeeper. Nothing gets past you anymore. Together we can take this planet back. Together we can do this. Fuck the reptilian overlords. Fuck the Kardashians. Fuck the Illuminati. Fuck anyone that aims to control you. They will not control us anymore. Happy holiday.
A woman in California said, "Yum." Got inspired to have salads this week for her #meal prep. So you know she had to hook it up. #apple, #pomegranate, #hearts of palm, #spinach, #arugula,
#green apple, #celery. A woman in Los Angeles said, big semi with gravel flipped over on the 101. Holy hell. Then a huge pallet in the middle of the freeway. Monday's heading to see the bestie. This Real to Someone news update is brought to you by a parallel universe. One of you is thriving.
What if you found a portal to a parallel universe? What if you could slide into 1,000 different worlds? Where it's the same year, and you're the same person, but everything else is different. And what if you can't find your way home?
Dad's got notebooks. We don't know what's in her notebooks. She's gonna show us all her notebooks. Little yellow pad.
July 29th, 2000. It's my birthday. Joe has given me this notebook. On the cover is a single character calligraphy for the word moon, done by a Zen master in the 1600s. There's a whole summary in the inside back cover of the notebook. I didn't make that up. It's totally the truth. Anyway, it's got these lovely acid-free pages, which are hand-stitched in the book. And July 29th is my actual birthday, which, you don't need to write down in your calendar or anything, although it might not hurt for you too. July 29th. I'm a Leo, and this is my Zen moon book. And on the first page, Joe has written me a haiku. I'm not going to read you the haiku because he wrote it, not me. And this is my little yellow pad and not Joe's little yellow pad. So if he wants to read his own haiku later, that's fine. But right now, I'm just going to focus on my own stuff. So I will say, though, having a haiku written for me is a super awesome gift, which actually exceeds the book itself. And not to make, anyone listening feel bad, having a theme song is also pretty cool, but it doesn't rhyme. But neither does a haiku. But you know what does rhyme? Mostly the very first thing I ever wrote in this journal on August 1st, 2000, the day after my birthday. And I quote, potions, motions, lotions, oceans, devotions, emotions, ablutions, absolutions, precision, decision, aggressive, progressive, possessive, obsessive, evasive, pervasive, emaciated, emancipated, evacuated, attractive, proactive, subtractive, reactive, intergalactic, sex addict, didactic, Big Macic, empathic. Big Macic is kind of questionable, but the rest of it I think has kind of a sort of a Zen, meditative thing going for it, right? Like think about it. Think, like you're drifting off to sleep at night and this is what you hear. Potions, motions, lotions, oceans. I'm not going to read them all again, but you can imagine how that would be. Like you could listen to it over and over again and you would just work yourself into an amazing sort of Zen state. Huh? See, it's really pretty good for that notebook. I do want to read you, though, one other thing that I actually wrote in this notebook on the same day, August 1st, 2000, the day after my birthday. I wrote my own haiku. This is it. It says, and I quote, tapioca love, lumpy, gooey, sticks to you till you lick it off. And then there's this weird little dude that I drew next to it because, that's a weird poem. But I like it. The beautiful notebook with the Zen master's 17th century calligraphy with archival pages begging for inspirational verse, and then this sort of humble, dumb tapioca poem, and the word Big Macic. I think the lessons here are simple. 1, the saying, you can't judge a book by its cover, works both ways. 2, you just never know what or who is going to inspire you. And 3, when it's your birthday, you can write whatever you want in your notebook. Thank you, Joe, for your kind gift. May the force be with you.
I've brought bread
to men, women, and children.
I've brought water with lemon for the table.
I have hot tea.
Can I box that for you?
I'll bring your change.
Like the time I was in the van with Debbie Deb. Who else was in that van? The girl who sang I'm with the DJ. And we were on tour with Sir Mix-a-Lot as one of the acts. Debbie Deb. When I hear
Tell me a
music.
story.
Debbie Deb was one of my favorite dance artists in the 80s, and I got to sit next to her in a white, I think it was a conversion van, driving around Louisiana to a show where we all performed at nightclubs, because I was a backup dancer. I'll tell you what happened. I came home from a show. I had had a few drinks. When I got to the hotel, which may have been a Motel 6, I asked where the whirlpool was, and the security guard said, "It's down the street a little bit." And I said, "You guys keep your whirlpool down the street?" And he said, "No, but there's a gym that we partner with, so if you stay here, you can go." Now, mind you, it's like 12:30 a.m. And I said, "Are they open?" And he said, "Yes. Would you like me to take you there?" And I said, "Sure. I mean, why not?" So the security guard took me to this gym. We were the only two there, but it was open. I proceeded to basically not work out, but go into the whirlpool, and then the sauna, and then the whirlpool. And finally, after doing this with him standing there fully clothed and waiting every time I went in and out, I said, "Do you want to get in?" And he said, "Sure." So he stripped down to his underwear and got in the whirlpool with me. He did. And that's really it. I was just like, wow, this is really good service. Security guard. And I don't know how long we stayed. We talked a lot about our lives. That's what I do know. And eventually, we got dressed and went back to the Motel 6. And he went back to guarding the place, and I think I passed out. Because I had a show the next day.
That was Lalo Vasquez, another one of Deb's friends. Thanks for the story, Lalo. That was awesome.
Shout out to Lalo. I'm just jealous he was on Sir Mix-a-Lot's tour. How dope is that?
Oh, that's super dope.
What's the name of that song?
Does it remind you of your backup dancer days?
Naturally, of course. I mean, I killed it back in the day. But I never got on Sir Mix-a-Lot's tour.
Yeah, really? It's true.
And
what was his favorite performer? Deb or something? Debbie Deb?
Oh, that was Sir Mix-a-Lot's favorite dancer?
No,
Lalo's.
Lalo's.
Oh, I'm not sure.
In the story, he said he was on tour. They were on the Sir Mix-a-Lot tour, but he was performing with, I think he said Debbie Deb.
I don't know enough about my...
I don't know who that is.
I'm usually pretty good at hip-hop history, so I don't know who Debbie Deb is.
Well, he said that she was like a dancer or something from
Is
the
that
80s.
What Deb's name was in the 80s? Did she go by...
Did you not even listen to his story?
I did.
We just heard it like 30 seconds ago.
I was obviously more concerned about other things than who he was on tour with. Like, I'm putting myself in the situation as he's walking out.
Every single one of your questions had to do with the security guard.
Well, I was like, okay, because the security guard is kind of creepy, man. Like, I'm worried, I'm like, where is this going? He's just going to sit there? Because it's creepy if he's just going to sit there and look at him and watch him as he's going back and forth from the sauna to the spa. It's creepy if he joins him. It's creepy. There's a lot going on there. I don't know if he's going to murder him. I don't know if there's going to be some kind of interaction. I don't know what's going on. It was compelling storytelling.
I feel like we're pretty far from murder. I don't think you're going to walk a guy over to a gym and then kill him.
Generally where I have murder fantasies. They're always at gyms, like with barbells and dumbbells.
Oh, you're so weird.
And I just want to, choke somebody out with the dumbbell. Or the barbell on their neck. Be like, oh, yeah.
Oh, sweet God. I'm going to stop you there. So when Deb sent this to me, she sent a follow-up email saying that after she heard it, she understood that it sounded like the beginning of an adult film, but it's not the beginning of an adult film.
No, but that's where I was going with the murder thing. Like, okay, because it's going one of two ways. It's adult film or it's a murder scene. It's just in that shady gray area where anything can happen. It's exciting.
Well, I understand that it's from my perspective, that would be an awkward situation. But for that security guard, I don't think it was awkward for him. And I don't think I don't think Lalo thought he was going to get murdered or adult filmed.
I'm just telling you where my mind goes with a story like that. Two things, murder or adult film. First, back to the hot tub real fast. So when I do lock up the hot tub every night, I'll go up and I'll tell him, like, okay, I'm locking up the hot tub, and then I take a lap because I don't want to watch, like, boners coming out of the hot tub. So I'll go take a lap. I give him some time, give him some air, let it breathe, and then I come back and I lock it up.
You don't want to see some
I'm like,
boners come
I
to
don't
the
want any
surface.
boners coming out. I'm good. I'm good on boners, all right? Secondly, my security guard story. I went to this show. It was a Swollen Members show, which is like a Canadian hip-hop group. And I was a little tipsy, and I think I stumbled at some point, and I got kicked out. I might have been a little bit beyond tipsy. But so I got kicked out, and I went to the street, and I had like just some thrift store army jacket, I remember. And I had just some like pullover jacket, and I saw this guy walking down the street. This is in Tempe when I was going to ASU, and I asked him if I gave him like $20 or something, and I switched him jackets, so I ended up getting his thrift store army jacket and his headband, where he had like a bandana. So I put the bandana on my head, I put the thrift store army jacket in, and I paid for another ticket, and I went back into the show. That lasted like 5 minutes. The same security guard that saw me, that originally kicked me out, figured it out right away and threw my ass right back out. It's terrible. I was so pissed. Like, screw that security guard. I was like
That's
in disguise.
awesome.
It was awesome. Everything had worked, and he threw me right back out. And I ended up losing like $100 in the deal because I had to buy another ticket and the whole stupid thing. It's one of my finer moments.
I don't know what makes that story better, the fact that you did get kicked out again, or if you had succeeded and got to sneak back in and see the whole show.
This is how determined I was.
I'm kind of
how
glad
determined
the way it
I
ended.
was. So, and then after I got kicked out the second time, I went around and I got on the bus that the band was on, or the group, the hip hop group, and I talked to the guys. So I knew that I talked to the two guys who were like fronting the group, and they're like, "Oh yeah, just roll in with us in the back." So I followed them in the back as they were going on. And I got all the way to the door again, and then somebody was like, "Who the hell's this dude? Get Like, it was so close getting back in so many ways.
That's pretty
And
dope,
you know why that's
actually.
especially poignant for this episode is because the name of the group was Swollen Members.
I could not believe that you hadn't mentioned that coming on the heels of the boner conversation leading up to
It's
it.
all connected, bro. Or are those parallel universes? You don't even know anymore. Your mind is blown.
Boy. Yeah, I think we're
I think we're
Yeah,
good. We've got Swollen Members. We've got
Yeah, I think that's good.
security guards. We've got everything. Sir Mix-a-Lot, he likes big butts.
Let's start off thanking Sir Mix-a-Lot for putting Lalo on tour. Thank you, Lalo Vasquez, for the story.
Mad Child and Prevail are the rappers in Swollen Members. Thanks to those guys. Thanks to the security guard. Thanks to Deb. Thanks to Jesse. Where can the people find us, John Derby?
Always start at 86charles.com.
86charles.com?
86charles.
You can find us on the Twitters or on the Instagrams at Company Blaster. Hit us up. Drop us a line. Tell us what you think. Give us a review on iTunes. You can find us there. You can also find us...
Shoot us an emoji.
Ooh, emojis. I love emojis. You can find us on the Stitcher app. Just search 86Charles. You can add us. We're on Tumblr. We're on so many places. We're everywhere on the internet. Everywhere.
And I think that's the same in all the universes, right?
I don't know how the internet works in parallel universes. Like in some places, maybe the internet was never developed and they just held on to their psychic abilities from before we lost that ability. Thanks a lot to the Vatican who killed our psychic abilities. Yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, as always, John Derby, I want you to leave America with one word.
Infinity.
That'll do, John Derby. That'll do.
Infinity. Because it goes on forever.
The new boy in the neighborhood lives downstairs and it's understood. He's there just to take good care of me, like he's one of the family. Charles in Charles.